This story is related to the Winchester Mystery House in California and its eternal curse. In San Jose, California, the Winchester Mystery House is not just a structure of brick and stone, but the world's most complex and terrifying labyrinth. Sarah Winchester, who built this house, believed that the souls of thousands of people killed by Winchester rifles were haunting her. To confuse these spirits, she built a house where stairs led to ceilings, doors opened into steep drops, and windows were built into floors. People say that even after Sarah's death, the house is still being built, and the sound of hammers can be heard echoing through the halls at night. The story begins with Aryan, an Indian documentary filmmaker who traveled to America with his team to capture the truth of this house on camera. Accompanying him were his wife Maya and camera crew members Samir and Juhi. Aryan did not believe in ghost stories, but Maya, a sensitive person, shivered the moment she stepped over the threshold. "Aryan, there is a heaviness in the air here. It feels like the walls are staring at us," Maya whispered. Upon entering, a strange chill greeted them. The house guide had warned them not to separate from the group because losing one's way in this house meant disappearing forever. As midnight struck, Aryan and his team secretly entered a section closed to tourists, known as the Wing of Regrets. The air there was thick with the smell of rotting old wood and sulfur. Samir turned on his thermal camera. What appeared on the screen made his hands shake. The room was filled with dozens of red heat signatures standing still, but to the naked eye, there was no one there. Suddenly, Juhi's scream echoed. Her flashlight beam hit a staircase that ended abruptly in the middle of a wall. A blurry figure sat there, a small girl wearing tattered, old-fashioned clothes. She had no eyes, only two deep black hollows. She was muttering, "Counter, 13, number 13. Aryan reached for the camera, but at that moment, 13 bells began to toll simultaneously throughout the house. Every corner of the Winchester Mystery House held the mystery of the number 13. 13 windows, 13 bathrooms, 13 stairs. Suddenly, the door they had entered through transformed into a solid wall. They were now trapped in the labyrinth. They began to run frantically. They reached a room where a large window was built into the floor. As soon as Samir stepped on it, the glass shattered and he fell into the darkness below. His scream echoed through several floors before silence took over. Aryan peered down, but there was only an endless deep well from which shadows of countless hands were rising. Maya began to sob uncontrollably. "We have to get out of here, Aryan. Sarah Winchester didn't build this house to imprison souls. She built it to feed them." Suddenly, the sound of hammering began behind the wall. Thud, 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 as if someone were trying to break out from inside the masonry. The corridor lights began to flicker. The spirit of Sarah Winchester appeared before them, wearing a black veil. She pointed a withered finger toward a closed door, the seance room. As they entered, the door slammed shut on its own, and 13 candles ignited spontaneously. In the center of the room was a round table where Samir's camera sat. The camera turned on by itself, playing Samir's final recording. Samir was screaming on screen. "Run, Aryan! There are no ghosts here. This is the gateway to hell itself. These walls consume humans." Suddenly, invisible chairs began to pull away from the table. Juhi felt cold fingers stroking her neck. She turned around to see a tall, faceless shadow holding a Winchester rifle. The shadow pressed the rifle against Juhi's temple. Aryan tried to save her, but he was thrown back by an invisible force. An explosion followed. The sound of a rifle blast shook the entire house, but no bullet was fired. Juhi's soul separated from her body and merged into the walls with the shadow. Her lifeless body collapsed to the floor. Now only Aryan and Maya remained. The walls of the house began to shift and move. It felt as if the entire house were a living monster changing its shape. The stairs, instead of going up, began to spiral down toward the underworld. Aryan gripped Maya's hand tightly. "We have to reach the room where Sarah Winchester died. Perhaps that is where the curse ends." They rushed toward the death chamber. On the way, they heard the screams of thousands of people killed by Winchester guns. Spirits were emerging from the walls, their bodies riddled with bullet holes. Maya's foot got caught in a hidden trapdoor. As Aryan leaned down to pull her out, a heavy chandelier fell from the ceiling. Aryan narrowly escaped, but Maya's hand was crushed under the debris. "Aryan, leave me! Go!" Maya screamed, but Aryan could not leave her. Suddenly, he felt someone calling him from beneath the floor. It was Samir's voice. "Aryan, come down. It's so peaceful here. There is no pain." Aryan saw the floor turn transparent, and below stood Samir and Juhi, their eyes completely white, reaching up to pull Aryan down. Aryan pulled a lighter from his pocket and set the nearby curtains on fire. The flames began to spread. He thought the flames might break the illusion, but the flames took a more terrifying form. The flames transformed into human shapes and began to dance. Sarah Winchester's spirit appeared again. She removed her veil. Behind the veil, there was no face, only a black void that wanted to swallow everything. She waved her hand in the air, and Aryan and Maya found themselves on a staircase leading toward the sky. But there was no roof above, only clouds and lightning. As they reached the final step, the staircase vanished. They were suspended in mid-air. Then a voice echoed from every corner of the house. "The game has only just begun. The door to the 13th room has not yet opened." Aryan and Maya fell into a dark cell. There was only a small ventilator through which moonlight filtered. In that light, they saw thousands of names written in blood on the walls. The very last names were Aryan and Maya. Suddenly, an old safe appeared in the center of the room. On it was written, "The price you must pay." With trembling hands, Aryan opened the safe. There was no gold or silver inside, but an old Winchester rifle and a note that read, To build this house, a sacrifice is needed. One must die so that the other can become the wall of this house. Maya looked at Aryan, her eyes filled with tears. Aryan, will we ever get out of here? Aryan picked up the rifle. His fingers were on the trigger. Outside, the sound of hammering started again. Thud, thud, thud. The walls of the Winchester Mystery House were shifting once more, and a new room was being prepared for Aryan and Maya. A strange blue light was emanating from the barrel of that old Winchester rifle kept inside the safe. The walls of the room were now closing in even further, as if they wanted to bury Aryan and Maya alive. The sound of hammers outside had now turned into a deafening echo. Thud, thud, thud. With every strike, the shape of the room changed. "Aryan, don't do it! This is a devilish trap!" Maya screamed, her hand still trapped under the debris, oozing dark blood. Aryan's hands were trembling. He placed the barrel of the rifle against his temple. The white, lifeless faces of Samir and Juhi flashed before his eyes. Suddenly, the faceless soul of Sarah Winchester appeared from the corner of the room. Her voice echoed directly in Aryan's mind. "Construction is not possible without sacrifice. All my life I built this house to entangle those souls, but now this house itself has become a soul. It needs new flesh. It needs new blood." Aryan tightened his finger on the trigger, but then he saw something strange among the names written on the wall. The names written there were not just names, they were moving. Those names were screaming. Aryan realized that this house doesn't just kill people, but steals their identity and imprisons them within its bricks. He removed the rifle from his temple and smashed it against the wall. "I will not make this deal!" Aryan roared. As soon as he refused, the entire house began to shake like a terrible earthquake. The debris fallen on Maya suddenly became liquid and started swallowing her. "Aryan, save me!" Maya's voice gradually began to fade. Aryan lunged to catch her, but the floor suddenly disappeared. He kept falling down, but it wasn't a room, it was an endless darkness. When Aryan opened his eyes, he was in a strange corridor. The ceilings here were 20 feet high, and the walls were made of mirrors. In every mirror, he saw a different version of himself. In one, he was old, in one, a child, in one, he saw himself as his own corpse. Then he heard Juhi's voice. "Aryan, come here, look what we found." Aryan turned and saw Samir and Juhi sitting around a large table. They were eating, but there was no food on the plates, only human fingers and eyes. There was a terrifying smile on their faces. "Samir? Juhi? You guys?" Aryan's tongue faltered. "We are part of this house now, Aryan. You come too. Time has stopped here. There is no hunger here, no pain," Samir said, and started laughing while chewing one of his fingers. His laughter sounded like a beast's scream. Aryan ran from there. He started running frantically through those mirrored corridors. Suddenly, he saw Maya in a mirror. She was locked in a wooden coffin, and molten lead was being poured over her from above. "Maya!" Aryan punched the mirror, but the mirror did not break. Then he saw Sarah Winchester's shadow again. "You cannot run. This house is a loop. He who comes here remains here. If you want to save Maya, you have to reach the red room." Where is that red room?" Aryan shouted. The shadow pointed toward the floor. Aryan saw a thin stream of blood flowing beneath his feet. That stream led him to a small secret door. Aryan opened that door and crawled inside. The sight inside was nothing less than hell. That red room was actually made of walls of flesh. The walls were throbbing as if a giant heart were beating. In the center of the room, Maya was shackled to an iron bed. Around her stood 13 shadows wearing red robes. In their hands were those same Winchester rifles. Those shadows were chanting in unison. Drops of blood were dripping from the ceiling of the room. As Aryan moved forward, those shadows pointed their rifles at him. "Stop," a heavy voice boomed. That voice was not Sarah Winchester's, but that of the landlord who had started the Winchester rifle factory. His soul was the most powerful there. "Aryan, you have come this far, but there is only one way out of here. You have to destroy the heart of this house. But if you do that, this house will collapse, and along with it, Maya, Samir, Juhi, and you too will be buried in this debris forever. And if you don't, you will live here forever, but like a slave." Aryan looked at Maya. Maya's eyes were open. She was trying to tell him something with a gesture. Aryan reached near her. Maya said in a weak voice, "Aryan, end this. I don't want to be immortal in this hell. Free us." Aryan saw a giant gear turning in the corner of the room, moving the walls of the entire house. That was the heart of this house. Aryan picked up an iron rod lying nearby and moved toward that gear. Then the souls of Samir and Juhi came in front of him. "Don't do it, Aryan. If you stop this, we will be completely wiped out. Don't kill us." They began to cry, but blood was flowing from their eyes. Aryan's heart filled with grief. On one side were his friends, and on the other was this endless hell. He raised the rod and with all his strength jammed it into the turning gear. A deafening sound of metal breaking came. The entire Winchester house screamed as if in pain. The walls began to burst. The floor began to sink. Heavy stones began to fall from the ceiling. The shadows began to turn into smoke. Aryan broke Maya's chains and took her in his arms. "We have to run!" But the door had now disappeared. There were only falling walls and screaming souls all around. Samir and Juhi's faces were turning to dust. Sarah Winchester's soul was seen one last time. She was smiling as if she had finally found liberation. Aryan and Maya were about to be buried under a pile of debris when suddenly a bright white light flashed. After the terrifying glare of the white light, the silence that followed was not a sign of peace. It was the beginning of a catastrophe that erased the line between humanity and the spirit world. When the heart of the Winchester Mystery House, that massive gear, shattered, it didn't just collapse the walls of the mansion. It turned the gateway to hell into a permanent vortex where time and space ceased to exist. Aryan, buried beneath the debris, tried to open his eyes, only to realize that half of his body had been crushed under stone slabs. Maya lay beside him, but her body had become nothing more than a lump of flesh. Her eyes were wide open, frozen in the same terror. Aryan tried to move her, but then he felt that the stone he was trying to push was not stone at all. It was the frozen, decaying face of Samir, fused into the very bricks of the wall. That night, screams were heard across the entire San Jose area, but when the administration and rescue teams arrived the next morning, there was nothing. The Winchester Mystery House stood in its place, perfectly calm and still. From the outside, it looked as if nothing had ever happened. However, the brave police officers who entered were never seen again. Today, months after that incident, the Winchester Mystery House has been declared a graveyard of death and surrounded by a 10-foot-high barbed wire fence. No tourists go there anymore. No guide dares to set foot inside. Even the local administration has banned vehicles from passing that road after sunset. People say that at night, sounds emerge from there that cannot come from a living throat. Those are the voices of Aryan, Maya, Samir, and Juhi, who are now being crushed within the walls of that house for eternity. Once, an investigative journalist tried to take photos inside the house using a drone. The footage that came back shook everyone who saw it. The walls inside the house were not static. They were breathing, expanding, and contracting like lungs. The carvings on the walls had turned into human faces, thousands of faces with mouths open as if they were screaming. Samir and Juhi's faces had become part of the pillars in the main hall. Their eyes still moved, and whoever watched the footage felt those eyes looking directly at them. The death there is so painful that the soul is not permitted to leave the body. The smell of gunpowder from Winchester rifle cartridges is still dissolved in the air like poison. Anyone who tries to get close to the fence suddenly feels a sharp pain in their chest, as if shot by an invisible rifle. The administration once tried to demolish the house with a bulldozer, but as soon as the bulldozer's claw struck the wall, the driver inside suddenly began to laugh hysterically and plucked out his own eyes with his bare hands. The machine reversed on its own and crushed 3 nearby policemen. Since then, no one has dared to touch the house. During the 13th hour of the night, when the moon is directly above the house, the Red Room becomes active again. Aryan's soul still stands there holding that iron rod, but he is no longer stopping the gear, he is turning it. He has been sentenced to convert the screams of his friends and wife into energy so that the house can stay alive. It is a cycle that even God cannot break. There is no longer just silence there, but a heavy, foul-smelling suffocation. If you pass by that house today, you will feel someone calling you from behind. That voice might sound like your mother or your friend, but remember, it is only a trap of the Winchester house. The house is hungry. It is now searching for more names to be written in blood on its walls. The Winchester Mystery House has become a place where death does not end, but begins. To go there means to throw your soul into the barrel of that cursed rifle. The air there still whispers, 13, 13, 13. And whoever hears this count finds their name carved on the wall of some dark cell the very next morning. Only the souls rule there now, and that rule is so terrifying that even death itself is afraid to enter.